And let's not go across to Chetan Bhagat. I spoke to him earlier in the evening, especially after his controversial remarks saying that we shouldn't treat authors of banned books as heroes. I began by asking him on that remark that's generated quite a buzz, and also asking him that does he believe that the book ought to be, that I beg your pardon, that Salman Rushdie ought to be stopped from coming to India. Should we not allow Rushdie to come? Even the hitman threat, of course, now emerging unverified.
Yeah, firstly, thank you for giving me this chance to clarify, because I think there's a lot of manipulation going on. What I might have said at a session, what I was saying was, firstly, let it be very clear. I never made a statement about Mr. Rushdie. It's about any banned writer who, not a banned writer, somebody whose people feel their book or writing has offended people. How do we deal with that? Firstly, I think there should be no bans on the writing. There should be no ban on mobility. Liberty of people is fundamental right, and I think that I firmly oppose. I wish Mr. Rushdie was here, or anybody else who has been prevented from coming. Having said that, all I said was that we should also know that, sometimes you have the right, you have the freedom of expression, but, you could end up hurting people. Nobody likes their gods being mentioned in a derogatory way. I'm a Hindu, I wouldn't like if Ram and Krishna, and I'm sure the Muslims don't like it when it happens to them. So it is something, I'm just saying, it should not, we should not give this as an incentive for people that, we encourage that behavior by making them heroes. That's all I said, because I don't see anything heroic in it.
Right. Perhaps the idea also wasn't to become a hero. You're saying that nobody would like their gods and goddesses being insulted or attacked in any way. And nobody really would disagree with that, Chetan Bhagat. But isn't this where we need to stop threats and intimidation? You can protest in other more peaceful ways. Also, what do you see is the role of the state? Don't we think that the state should have gone out of its way to ensure security for Salman Rushdie, to ensure that he was here? Isn't that the kind of message that we need to send out?
It is always fun to bash the government, but I have to say I've been here at the fest. The state has done a remarkable job as far as the security is concerned. They have really made the security in the festival several checkpoints, while still not hindering the experience of people enjoying the festival. I don't think the decision to not come came from any order from the state government. It did not. It was between the organizers and him, is my understanding, and for the benefit of the fact that the news had become so overblown, and they didn't want any incident to occur that would tarnish Jaipur or the literary festival. The invitee and the person who invited them decided mutually. The state, either the government could have reacted very quickly to the first threat, but to not react and let it kind of linger on, and then nothing can be done in the end. And you just have to prevent damage, and I think people tried to do what prevented the least damage. Of course, it should not mean that every time this will happen. I think some clear policy has to be there. How are we going to deal with situations like this? It's not about one personality, one event, one festival.
Right. In fact, this is, of course, something that we see being played out in the public sphere over and over again. And we keep talking about upsetting people, upsetting their sentiments. But questions also being raised on the timing that really cannot be ignored. Can it, Chetan Bhagat? Elections in crucial states. So really, whose protests were these anyway? You're saying not really fair to bash the government every time, but there's certainly political hues to this entire controversy.
Well, actually, I'm sorry to say, but there's a little bit media blaming required here. I had been invited for many debates on this issue in the last 15-20 years. I have not gone. Today also I have come. I didn't know you'll ask me about this. I thought you'll ask me about my presence at the late fest, but and it's not like I'm shying away from it. I explained to every news channel respectfully that I don't want to be there, because that's exactly what the Deoband wants. They want prominent people to discuss them at dinner tables, and I don't want to do that, and we gave them attention, and I think then it was too late. We should not give attention, and then it would have not meant anything. Even last time they gave a threat, but nobody cared about it, and therefore it never made news. But once it becomes something discussed in prime time, it gains momentum. It's one of those issues. So I think we have all of us have a lot to learn. Sometimes it's just, see, in an ideal world, people would understand and respect freedom of expression and creative freedom, but we are not in an ideal world. So let's just ignore people who threaten, ignore people who use violent means to make their case. And I think that's where we all went a bit wrong here.
Right, that perhaps can't always be managed, perhaps, and just really in your face. And of course, here we thought that there were serious security concerns, but we also saw several people, authors in particular, rallying in support of Salman Rushdie, authors reading out from satanic verses. What about the outrage that created, and how do you see that controversy?
See, again, I am not an expert on that, but see, that is again, you need to understand why there was a need to do that, because Mr. Rushdie, even if he was coming for some another session on the English language. He was not coming to read the banned passages or banned book or whatever. So to bring that up while being fully aware that this could lead to disturbance, I as a citizen of this country, as a writer, of course, I want full freedom. As an artist, I want absolutely no controls on whatever I want to do, and nobody should give controls. I still believe the freedom of expression is there. But if I'm aware, like today, right now I can make one statement. You're giving me a stage on national TV. I could make 2 lines that could stir up a lot of things. But should I do that? And should I celebrate it as, hey, that's my freedom of speech? There is a judgment call required. It comes down to that. There's a judgment call required. Why are you reading those passages? That was never the plan anyway. But people, like I said, it's a free country, and people are free to do whatever they want and face the consequences. I wouldn't have done it. I don't think, but I am expressing my full support to Mr. Rushdie. I regret him not being here. I hope to see him soon. He is one of the senior most writers of Indian origins in the world. But, I wouldn't do that method to show solidarity, because I feel it can have repercussions.
Right, Chetan Bhagat, outspoken as always. Thanks very much for joining us on the program there.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.